Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Urvi Malwania, a special correspondent with etbrandequity.com. For today's webinar, we have with us Aparna Achrekar. She is the programming head at ZEE5, and she has over 20 years of experience across areas like OTT, web applications, and of course, print media. Today, she'll be taking us through engaging consumers in the changing times that we are seeing. So she has a presentation prepared for us, and during the presentation, I would encourage people to, all the attendees to send in their questions. So she has kept quite a bit of time for Q&As. So your questions are welcome, and welcome Aparna, and you can take it away now.
Thank you so much, Urvi. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Yes, these are changing times, exceptional times, unprecedented times, and who would have expected that otherwise, we would have our conferences going so regularly that we would all be meeting at webinars. So great. Hope you're all having a great day. And let's begin. Before I start, I want you to I want you to imagine a bit, right? So I'm going to show you a visual and I want you to close your eyes for a couple of seconds and imagine something. Wow, I hope that did bring back some good memories. So if you are from Mumbai and you live anywhere in the suburbs, this is your everyday visual, right? 2 months back, this was a reality. This is really how we lived in Mumbai. And whether you're from Mumbai, Delhi, Noida, Bangalore, or possibly any metro of this country, this is a visual that you lived all days, all working days of your life. And in fact, I had coupled this visual with a nice honking sound. But then, considering we're all staying away from pollution, noise pollution these days, decided to not give you the honking experience. So yes, this really was our life about 2 months back. But what happened? COVID came and then sent everything for a toss, right? I mean, decided to possibly want to wipe out a huge population. Unfortunate, but true. I mean, suddenly our lives changed. The Pope had to give his sermons online, right? Vatican looks like this, unfortunately. But worse still, our Bollywood celebrities had to go to their kitchens, had to start doing the dishes, and had to start cooking. And when that happens, believe me, the nation is going through a lot of trouble, right? And who really cares if you have to do the dishes or if you have to cook? But when Bollywood does that and when Instagram explodes with these pictures, you know something definitely is changing. So really, what is it that is changing? The life of the consumer has changed. The life of the consumer has gone from what it was earlier. So we woke up anywhere between 6 to 9 a.m. We would travel to work. We would be at the workplace. Evening, we would possibly hang out for some time, go shopping some days, or just hang out with colleagues or spend time with the family. And then night was again dinner at home and possibly, a binge watch or two. And this really was what your weekday was like. And weekend would possibly look a little different. But really, it didn't change for any one of us. Some of us woke up at 6, some of us had the luxury to wake up at 8, but still pretty much really how our life was. And what was the media exposure like? We would catch up on news. We would be exposed to a lot of outdoor newspapers. We're all really missing our newspapers, aren't we? We spent some time on our mobile phones, and then of course we had some time that you could take off while during a lunch break. You would again then be on your phone, and then when you were traveling back, you were possibly going to the theater someday, again watching something on your phone, and then maybe later at night it is possibly family time, television, and a little more binge viewing, depending on really what your life was like. What changed really? A huge shift happened, right? TV unfortunately had no new episodes after a couple of days, and therefore, really, what happened was we were glued to our television trying to watch more news, right? We wanted to all be updated with what was happening, what was the new announcements coming. where were the new cases, what was our what was our area like, were we in red, how soon were we expected to go in green. A lot of news consumption started happening. Unfortunately, restrictions came on the print medium, and therefore not much distribution started happening. But yes, life got reinvented, and we were all reading our daily dose of newspaper as part of e-papers, right, or the PDFs that were getting circulated on WhatsApp. And then, of course, outdoor, because we were not stepping out outdoors in that sense, outdoor completely lost relevance for us during this time. And the initial days of COVID were all public service messages that the BMC or the government was putting up. So, really, a lot of advertising stuff. But then, where did the consumer obviously go to? All of us as consumers directly went on to digital. Our go-to places were news sites. Our go-to places were news channels. Our go-to place was social media, because really that's where we could all share our own burden, share our own anxieties, and really digital in some way or the other started becoming a part of everybody's life. Stickiness on digital platforms in this particular duration went from 115 minutes to 280 minutes, and that's like a huge 87% rise. And OTT platforms like ZEE5 saw a huge surge in content consumption across content genres, because really the content consumption did not really stay with a particular age group or a particular demographic or gender. Everybody who had access to a mobile phone and had access to the internet really started consuming something or the other online. And what changed? We went from digital first to digital must. So in that sense, what demonetization did to digital wallets, because there was quick adoption. My own Sabziwala was now, allowed me to pay using a digital wallet for even half a kg of sabzi. Really, this is what happened even to OTTs in that sense, right? I mean, whoever had internet was possibly only a WhatsApp or a casual Facebook user, started watching a little more on OTT than others. 71%, when this I quote from a survey, 71% of consumers agreed on viewing more content on streaming platforms compared to a pre-COVID period. 72% browse the internet more often to get more information about coronavirus, right? And because the government also kept educating us on not, relying on forwards, we all started to go to authentic sites, or, maybe Twitter handles, the BMC Twitter handle or the PMO Twitter handle, for more information, for authentic information. There, of course, I mean, a lot of OTTs saw a huge surge in subscription numbers also. And then, of course, watch time also significantly improved. What else happened? We all came closer to the family. So the time that you would spend in the traffic jam, you actually started spending with your family, and that really was like a welcome thing for all of us. The time that we were unable to spend with our spouses, with our children, with the elders in the family, really we all started to be together. And that's exactly how the entire Ramayana and Mahabharata phenomena also exploded, right? And I quote a very senior professional from the industry when he said, watching Ramayana and Mahabharata is not just about entertainment. It is a combination of therapy, nostalgia, and remembering God amid an unprecedented crisis, right? So if you are a millennial, or if you are 40 plus, and if your childhood memory included watching Ramayana or Mahabharata with your parents and grandparents, we actually went back to watching that with children in our family. So intergenerational co-viewing in that sense became organic, leading to nostalgia influenced viewing behavior, right? And if you look at some of the franchises, and Hollywood and Disney genuinely has done very well. Jurassic World, Star Wars, Jungle Book, all of the business case studies, if you look at, nostalgia, when pitched correctly, can lead to mass engagement. So when we saw the Jungle Book, we were all reminded of the Jungle Book we saw on Doordarshan as children, or the Jurassic World reminded you of the Jurassic Park. And if you remember some of its Hindi dubbed versions, they would keep calling the dinosaur Badi Chipkali, and and that really sounded like fun when we were children. And then, of course, the Star Wars franchise. Interestingly, DD's growth also came from across income classes, and the upper income households actually led the search. And this again leads us to a phenomena where, as parents, as society, we want these values. We want the values that our mythology teaches us, or whatever maybe the religious belief you may have, to be inculcated as values in our family, as values in our children. So really, the family bonding space really grew in this period. Well, again, here's something from the McKinsey report. Consumers were asked, respondents were asked if you have done any of the following since COVID-19 started. And 44% actually said that they had started online streaming a lot more. And 9% said that they had just started using that. So, not just the ones who had already adopted OTT or online streaming, started doing that a lot more. There were newer people who adopted online streaming. Personal video chats, yes, we've all been enjoying those WhatsApp video calls or those Google Hangout calls with family, with cousins, and everybody's trying to match time zones so that everyone can come on a call and everyone's talking about, hey, he's in the US and he's in the UK and someone's here and someone's there, and we are all in a lockdown situation. So really unprecedented, because this is the time, this is really a situation when the world is in it together. And of course, a lot more areas also impacted. Consumers also said they expected to spend more time consuming news, movie shows, and video content. So live news was something respondents said that there would definitely be an increase in them watching. Over 62% said that yes, there would be an increase in them watching more live news. 60% said movies or shows, right? And which is then great for OTT players like us, whose whose proposition includes movies, shows, series, television, live news, and really that really propelled the growth that we've all seen in this period. Yes, of course. Viewing patterns changed, and news and movies got the maximum growth. I mean, news. Some reports said had 219% growth in viewing. Movies increased by 43%. The kids segment increased very very highly. What we also saw during this period was content consumption on Z5. The prime time shifted, right? So earlier the prime time, and if you can see my screen, pre-lockdown, the prime time, the binge viewing time on OTT was more between 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. But post OTT, you can see a surge during this time, right? So the afternoon band of 12 to 5 also started seeing surge. So really, non-prime time viewing driven by day part viewing became not just a TV phenomena, but also a phenomena on OTT. Availability of entertainment, people being at home, different family members having different entertainment needs. So really, everything changed for us during this time. Viewing on smart TV and devices also became an all-time high, right? So because we were all together as families, and those of the consumers who had smart TVs at home started shifting their consumption from only phone devices to laptops, smart TVs, tablets. Smart TV consumption increased by over 26% on Z5 versus the last month. And these are just the April figures, and now that we have walked into May, the numbers are significantly higher now. So, what really OTT viewing, which was largely on phones while traveling sort of a phenomena, became a more holistic with the family, let's watch this on TV sort of phenomenon. So what more is expected to change, right? I mean, we've seen all of this, and a lot of this information is there as part of reports. Newspapers and websites are doing a lot of articles on this. What more is expected to change? And here's a very interesting thought I want to bring to you. If we look at the kind of content, the change in movies post World War II, there was a certain trend, right? And the COVID scenario currently in the world is possibly no less than a World War III, right? more countries of the world are part of this than they were in World War II. So really, if one has to compare or see any trend of what will happen from here on, this would be a interesting study to look at. Realistic small scale dramas became to the fore than lavish, fantastic epics, right? So really the makers started focusing on creating relatively smaller scale content than the epics that they had planned for earlier. A lot of stories that were created were very thought provoking and reflected the psychological and social problems besetting returning war veterans and others adapting to post war life. And if you compare the situation we are in earlier, this is possibly no different. We are all dealing with the anxieties of being in red zones. Even if you're in a green zone, you're worried that, what if something happens? You're worried about your family. Possibly once lockdown opens and normal life is expected to resume. So the anxiety is not going to be limited to only this period. The anxiety will actually go beyond this period, and then for how long it will go before we can get back to normalcy, before we can start looking at life the way it was in early March or the way it was for us in 2019. Really, those things will change. Interestingly, some of America's grimmest and most naturalistic films were produced during this period. And if you like the thought, I feel to suggest you may want to do some reading online. Hollywood's greatest contribution to the war effort was morale, right? So because Hollywood actors and Hollywood couldn't really come to the forefront as as soldiers who were really fighting out there, they contributed in their own way by making cinema that added to the morale of the country, that added to the morale of the soldiers. Patriotic films affirmed a sense of national purpose, and we did see, films like Uri immediately post the incident did garner that sense of nationalistic fervor. Combat films of warriors emphasize patriotism, group effort, and the value of individual sacrifices for a larger cause. And this is no different today, right? We have all been lauding the efforts put in by our medical professionals, our policemen, our conservancy workers, the entire government mechanism as such. And really, we are all in it together, right? No one is really hugely criticizing their state governments or the central government, right? We all want to be in this together, and we all want to come together to be able to fight this one out in our own little way. A lot of campaigns called each one of us individuals as warriors, and as a warrior, all that you had to do was stay back at home, right? And that, in that sense, was our contribution in trying to beat the war or trying to win the war. Movies portrayed World War II as people's war featuring group of men from diverse ethnic backgrounds thrown together, tested on the battlefield, and molded into a fighting unit. Again, a very interesting thought. It actually brought people from all parts of the society together. And will this COVID really bring that together? Time will tell us. Women characters played a very prominent role. So the nurses, the medical professionals who worked during World War II became very strong characters in cinema post World War II films. And really, a lot of inspirational stories, a lot of inspirational content may just come up post the COVID period. Even cartoons, so cartoons which were mainly made for children, even that contributed to morale. So while adults do enjoy cartoons, the primary TG of that is possibly kids, and it started that young. The inspiration and the contribution to morale started right from influencing children. So really, what is expected to come out of this? And, if we look at really how things have evolved, heroes always become a byproduct of mass consumer consciousness. So if you look at Superman, right, post the economic depression, the Superman as a character came, he stood for hope, utopia, and a belief that someone from outside will save the day, right? Superman will come and save the day. You could be in this savage train accident and possibly something really bad happening. You could be hanging from a skyscraper, and Superman could come and rescue you. So Batman came, and Batman was largely again a post World War II phenomenon. He's superpower with money, right? And his conflicts are believable and realistic, reflecting a social flux. So if you look at Superman, who is, who's Peter Parker who comes from a very humble background, Batman was always powerful. Let's look at our India examples, right? I mean, post independence, you had Mera Juta Hai Japani, Ye Patloon Hindustani, right? So a lot of utopia again. There a positive wave, a very inspirational stereotype with city dreams. So this was really when the exodus from rural was happening into urban, and that the films like these reflected that dream. The 80s came, and then you had the angry young man in Janjeer, a lot of social and political unrest, a lot of anti-establishment stereotypes came there, right? And that was the birth of the angry young man. The 90s again was the globalization dream, and if you plot this to the social conditions, the socio-economic conditions of the country, you'll realize how these heroes really made an impact on us. He was the globalization dream. He lived in London, loved a girl from India. It was that entire Desi and Videsi sort of a sentiment, and a really escapist stereotype there. And then, of course, our very own Ayushmann Khurrana. He's millennial. He's cool. He's very realistic. He's not afraid of going bald, and he's not afraid of films like where he's playing a gay character. So really, that's really what he plays a middle class millennial so well that we all he's a character we all relate to. So really, what will be the hero like post COVID? What sort of a hero will emerge? Will he be a combination of these four? Will he be a new prototype that will come? Time will tell us. So post-COVID, consumer engagement really will go to 3.0. So the outdoor entertainment space we are seeing is fast converging to an in-home experience, right? The movie culture is coming to your home with you watching more direct-to-digital movies or you watching more content at home. The gym culture, right, is all happening online now. So whether you're on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube or any other OTT, you can, your daily dose of fitness can simply come from your OTT. Indoor, which was again digital, you could be at home, you could be anywhere, needs to now get more interacting. So while outdoor needs to converge to an in-home experience, the indoor entertainment needs to start getting a lot more interactive. And really, then this is where the race for all of us, right, begins all over again. Content creation brands will have to recreate these experiences digitally, and only those who succeed at that have a very strong chance of resonating with audience. Brand cascading to reach out to relevant consumers, because yes, you cannot just be in one particular medium where you thought your primary audience was, because now your audience is across all of these. So really, let me tell you now how ZEE5 is approaching the big change. And before we go into that, we are going to play a small video to give you a perspective of how we program at ZEE5, how we create content at ZEE5.
फर्ज और फर्जी में बस एक मात्रा का अंतर होता है।
पूरे देश की उम्मीदें इस मिशन के कंधे पे। मैं पाकिस्तानी हूँ।
टाइम आ गया, अपना काम शुरू कर।
शंकर इंसान नहीं है वो।
Help us fight this abnormal law.
मैं मनमोहन सिंह ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूँ।
यादें कि सोने नहीं देती और हालात बिगड़ते ही जा रहे हैं।
शास्त्री जी मरे या मार दिए गए,
धारा 377 को डिक्रिमिनलाइज करने की बात कही गई है।
इन दिनों जितने क्राइम हुए हैं पिछले 15 सालों में नहीं हुए।
The winner is Sunny Leone.
I hope you like that video. We mentioned a concept called taste clusters, right? And I'm going to give you a glimpse of what taste clusters are like among the Hindi viewing audience. And these are just some representative out of this. So there are those who like thrilling content. There are those who like content that's very high on crime and action. There are those who simply watch content because it has stars. We call them the Sitaron ke Diwani. And then there are those who are the OTT streamers. The guzzlers who watch any new content that is up on most platforms. There are those who love only latest movies. So then they'll come only when you have a new movie launch. And then there are those who like that the offbeat movies the ones that you don't find in cinema very often, or the ones that TV channels don't play very often. And a huge evolving segment is that of new age women stories. These are stories with very strong women protagonists. These are stories where, possibly romance, but again, having women on top. So really, that's how these taste clusters work. And how do we decide which taste cluster to make for? We have an internal data mechanism that tells us the taste clusters with the highest ARPU, with the highest engagement rate, with the highest watch action. And what we try to do is create content that goes across multiple taste clusters and then make for the taste cluster that will give you the highest engagement and the highest return on investment. So really, that's what the taste clusters thought is like, because we've all evolved from the traditional way in which we looked at audiences, right? Age, gender, demography, because really OTT has become a great leveler. Digital has become a great leveler. You could be sitting in Mumbai and liking the same kind of stuff, and you could be 40 years old, and a young boy of 22 sitting in Lucknow could possibly be liking the same kind of stuff. Traditional marketeers wouldn't bucket them together, because a 22-year-old boy from Lucknow would get bucketed a certain way, and a 40-year-old male from Mumbai would get bucketed a certain way. But really, because all of this has become one uniformed audience, it's more of taste now than the general demographic. And these are the ones we see largely in regional. So then there are those who are the huge Tollywood fans. They'll watch any movie, any new movie that comes, the Telugu flirters who will come and who will possibly watch something in Telugu and then go and watch something, in some other language. Telugu has another very interesting segment, which is Telugu bhi or Hindi bhi. These people watch both Telugu and Hindi on the platform. We have a very interesting Marathi Manus segment, who loves their dose of television. So all that they watch all day is Marathi television and movies sometimes. And then there are the filmy buffs who will again come to your platform only when you have a movie in their language. And of course, the Tamil Thalivas, who again love their dose of movies, want to experiment with movies. Interestingly, a lot of young Tamil audiences have started watching content in Hindi too. So, we see a lot of our newer direct-to-digital premieres being lapped up by Tamil audiences. So the traditional thinking of really Tamil Nadu watches only Tamil content, yes, it's still a bit rigid when it comes to their dose of television. But when it comes to content that's possibly for a little younger audience or possibly for the filmy buff, language or scale really is no barrier. So what are the kind of stories that we are looking at? Our content strategy rests on 3 pillars: real stories, relevant stories, and stories that resonate with you, right? So whether it's cute romantic dramas like Kol Lassi Chicken Masala, or the very controversial initial Karanjit Kaur launch, The Untold Story of Sunny Leone, or one of our Valentine's Day launches, which was Never Kiss Your Best Friend, or the Mission Over Mars, which is the story of the women scientists behind the Mangalyaan, right? Really, one common thread that we've had in most of these stories are hope, inspiration, positivity, and love. And then those are the content pillars that we will take forward even post-COVID. Because, we saw the examples of the World War II, right? After so much catharsis that we have all gone through in the last 2 months, and the uncertain times that lie for us ahead, we all want to watch content that is going to make us feel better, lighter and more hopeful, right? We want a world that's positive. We want a world that's happy. We want to be happy and we want everyone around us to be happy. We're all going an extra mile to take care of our domestic health. We're all going an extra mile to take care of each other, right? So hope, inspiration, positivity, unity, love really are going to be the themes that we will largely focus on in this post-COVID period. And again, overall, and this as a strategy continues from the day we launched, voice, video, and vernacular, right, are the three pillars that overall Z5 as a platform has rested on and flourished on. We were the first platform to launch voice search, knowing very well that typing out in English or typing out on your phones is not the most convenient. All that you had to do was go click on the voice icon and say what you wanted to search for. So voice became a huge driver for our growth. Video, of course, video in 12 content languages really give us the huge growth. And being able to bank on the television content that the network produces across different languages really gave us that big growth too. So, the 12 content languages include your English, Hindi, Marathi, Tamil, Telugu, Bangla, Malayalam, Odia, Punjabi, Marathi, almost all big languages of the world covered. 11 display languages, you can actually change the UI of the Z5 app into 11 display languages. So if you are comfortable with Tamil as your language, or if you're comfortable with Marathi as a language, simply go and change the UI. So the entire language barrier of having to be comfortable only in English to be able to initiate yourself into OTT was one barrier we did away with at the time of launch. And really, these three have been huge growth drivers for us. So what are our key content buckets, right? And most of you, I'm sure, have been following Z5 content. Over 100 plus originals in about 2 years' time. And that's a big achievement. And that really puts us 10 times more. We've had 10 times more content, original content launches than our next competitor. Digital movie premieres, and that really has been something that has helped us acquire a lot of consumers. Before TV shows, so before shows go up on prime time, they're available as part of subscription on Z5. And then, of course, our newest content bucket, the newest launch that we've had is a kids content, and we've acquired a lot of exclusive content here, a lot of popular as well as exclusive content here. Music videos, right? Short form content always does very well. It's just make a playlist and you can enjoy whatever music you want. We've also started a curated food section, and really all the more during COVID when people were looking for interesting recipes or quicker ways to cook, this really got a huge fillip at this time. We have more than 43 live news channels, and now enabled, most of them enabled with SSAI, which is replacing ads on the channel with digital specific ads. So this has been a huge monetization opportunity for us. Also makes us available in the news category across different languages, and this really has been a huge growth driver. Our newest launch, and you'll possibly see that very soon, is going to be a hyper short section, a UGC hyper short section. So a video between 30 to 90 seconds, and we really know that's where a lot of emerging India is, and we know that this is actually going across age groups now. So initiation into that happens very early, and we see even 40 plus, 50 plus now putting up short form content. Gaming is going to be another big vertical that we are very bullish on, and Play 5 is part of that. And let me take you through quickly on really why hyper shorts. And if you see how Gen Z behaves, so Gen Z is very dystopian, prefers images to text messages. They're more realistic than optimistic. So while the millennials are watching more long form original content, the Gen Z really is watching more, or is engaging more with hyper short content. Gen Z works hard for success. Millennials wanted always to be discovered. Gen Z also has a very up-aging phenomena, whereas millennials thought, millennials wanted a little more prolonged adolescence in that sense. So really, what is going to be the Hypershot's proposition? It is because there is huge demand for micro entertainment. There's a lower attention span of Gen Zs, the younger audiences, which is like 8 seconds vis-a-vis the millennials who are at 12 seconds. While great improvement there. Gen Z is also the world's largest population and clearly loves video. They watch around 68 video clips a day. They give you a very high engagement rate. Really, to create this content, you don't need really huge professional tools. It's just simply your phone, camera, and a bit of special effects. Which Insta has taught you also well. So really, that's not too much of a hassle to create. It's instant empowerment, and really there's no approval required, because if you had to get into any professional content, it would take if you aspire to get into, or act in any film, or act in a series, or act in a even a short film for that matter, it would still be quite a journey. But really, here short form video gives you instant recognition, and the number of TikTokers and the success that we see really is all proof of that. And that, of course, caters to a huge variety, and there's a lot of width and depth of content. So really, Hypershots is the way to go, and Z5 as part of a super app proposition is very well placed to launch this very soon. And of course, gamification, right? What better than hyper casual gaming to increase engagement on your platform? And we plan to have games targeted across age groups and gender. So whether you love your Candy Crush, or whether you love interacting with your favorite TV stars, and this is the Z5 Super Family League that's currently live on the app. Simply taps into the fact that TV actors or TV characters have huge fan following. And how does one tap into that? You gamify that, right? How well do you know your character, or how well can you predict? आज के एपिसोड में क्या होगा, आज के एपिसोड में कौन किसके खाने में जहर मिलाएगा, आज के एपिसोड में कौन किसको चाटा मारेगा. If that was gamified, and if you could predict that in advance and win prizes, why not? And then this has been a huge engagement tool for us, and really a lot of our TV consumers have given us such great feedback on this. So you can see a lot more coming from Z5 on this. So what's next, right? I mean, things are changing, and while of course we will have our new launches and things coming up, a huge growth driver for us is going to be direct to digital premieres. And Ghoom Ketu with Nawazuddin and with cameo of Amitabh Bachchan and many other big stars is releasing on Z5 on the 22nd. So please catch that. We recently released Bumfard, which is the debut of Aditya Rawal, Paresh Rawal's son, and that has got us such great response. So really, direct to digital premiere, considering the theatre situation and the uncertainty that there is in that business at the moment, really something that we are very bullish on. A lot of live streaming events, so Sunburn, that's where every youngster wants to go, in December. Sunburn at home has been something that we've had on Z5 during this period, and has got a really very good traction and engagement. And then a couple of innovative formats, right? So lockdown special shows like Bhalla Calling Bhalla, all members of a family separated at different locations. And what is going to happen when they realize that their only go-to person is their mom? Mom, the most ignored person in the family, but now the most important person in the family, because she is the one who's guiding everyone. A story that's really so real, relevant, and resonant of the times we are in. And of course, a lot of reality format, because that's very easy to execute. So yes, I mean, a lot of innovative formats, direct to digital premieres, and live streaming is the way to go. And I'm going to request, this is the last bit, and I'm going to request a video to be played again. And then yes, happy to take more questions.
रुख हवा का मैं बदल दूं गर तू उड़ान ले, जंग तेरी मैं लड़ूंगी तू बस जीतने की ठान ले.
Thank you so much. I hope that was a short and sweet presentation. And Urvi, over to you. Happy to take questions.
Thank you so much, Aparna. That was truly a very, very good 40 minutes that we spent. I'll just quickly start off with the questions. We have a bunch of them. Firstly, I'd like to ask, when it comes to OTT platforms, yes, the consumption has increased and, people are binging more. But eventually, unlike television, which can fall back on library content, which is 20 years back, 20 years old even, video platforms, video streaming platforms don't have that luxury. All their content is already on the platform. So, in case we have further delays in scheduling shoots, how would OTT players sort of combat this challenge? Would there be a paucity of content, and will we see then linear television content from way back being acquired by OTT platforms?
So it's actually an advantage that a lot of content already sits on the platform, and on ZEE5 we have over 150,000 plus episodes. So that's huge content already sitting in. So we really didn't have to trigger a complete nostalgia phenomena. It already sat there. What we did was give that content good discovery during this time. So if you go to the ZEE5 app, you will see timeless classics, and it always stays there. But yes, repackaging that content and making that communication very relevant to the new consumer that is coming. So two things we really played on. One, nostalgia, because the likes of a Hum Paanch, right? And we've seen people lapping up the likes of Hum Paanch, Kabool Hai, Pavitra Rishta, which has Sushant Singh, right? Sushant Singh Rajput. So people really came back to the platform trying to discover that. See, what would happen in the usual times is because there are always newer episodes of your favorite TV shows from television coming as catch-up, you're more engrossed watching that. But when that is not happening, really you want to go back to watching some good live videos. So all of that being available on the platform was actually like a blessing in disguise for us. Yes, we did do a couple of acquisitions, but that again is more to ensure that people are more and more engaged. And we do data forms a very important part of our strategy. So it's not only about looking at what is it that people want, what is it that they want, when will they watch it, how much will they engage, what incremental watch time will you get if you acquired something new. Really, so all of those calculations, yes, some bit of acquisitions were done, but library and what already exists on the platform, just packaging that and giving it good content discovery really helped growth during this period.
Rohit Chakraborty has a question which is sort of in continuation to the one that you just answered. He asks, capturing nostalgia, is it a temporary trend or is it something sustainable over time?
Rohit, nostalgia always works for a certain set of audiences, right? I mean, you have to be at least 35, 40 to get nostalgic about something. You have to leave college to start getting nostalgic about college days, or you have to step into college to start getting nostalgic about school days, right? So nostalgia really works when you have crossed a certain path. So yes, it will stay because we've in this period seen a huge increase in number of people who have adopted OTT. They're all discovering new content, right? Those who were on OTT were, and we saw those numbers. Those who were on OTT were watching more, were discovering more, and those who adopted OTT started discovering all of this content. So yes, nostalgia will stay for a time, till there is now newer and newer content, and the state of releases is, as consistent and as much as it was earlier.
Okay.
I hope that answers your.
Sana Iqbal asks, in a previous webinar, it was said that ZEE5 has seen high growth in smaller towns. What kind of taste clusters work there? I'm guessing this is beyond the metros and mini metros.
Yes, so the kind of taste clusters that really work, and whether a metro or a non-metro, right? The concept of taste clusters actually goes beyond, and that's really the example I gave of a 40-year-old from Mumbai and a 20-year-old from Lucknow, right? As people are adopting OTT, the first content that they know is, of course, movies, and television content. So, we program on iOS also. The Z5 app is available on iOS also, which is the Geo phone, right? Like your 4,000-5,000 rupee phones. And we program the content on that app very, very differently than what we do on smart TVs. So the newer lot that comes in, the Bharat that starts adopting this starts with television content, starts with short form content, starts with movies, and later on gets initiated into series because there's a certain sense of content familiarity, right? I mean, we see huge TV consumption on these smaller phones from rural areas because when you give them a catch up, most of them are watching FTAs, and FTAs are having have reruns. So when they actually end up doing a catch up, they're watching episodes which are far ahead of what they're watching on television. So digital has empowered them to come up to speed with what the pay channels are offering in that sense, on TV.
Arnab Bose has a question on how it's interesting to see multiple forms of entertainment now available on the Z5 platform. What is your opinion on media convergence that has taken place during this time?
Media convergence was already in that sense happening, right? I mean, you could watch KBC and you could play KBC on your phone. So that happened about a year back, or even IPL for that matter, right? You could watch IPL and then you could gang up with friends and you could watch there too. We launched ZSF so that you could, predict what was going to happen in your favorite show. So media convergence, of course, was there. This particular period, in that sense, fastened the growth, really sped up the growth for all of this because other options were limited, right? Your going out options and hanging out options or going to a theater options got limited. And therefore, the media options that were available to you, whether it was TV or whether it was digital, the growth of that sped up. And, as creators, we had to quickly innovate and marry a lot of these formats so that we could, start serving our consumers.
Okay. There's a question by Remani Vallabh. Any strategies to improve stickiness to a particular platform since the exit barrier is very, very small in this space? And what sort of features can you introduce to ensure stickiness to a particular platform?
Sure. So one huge feature that we have relied on is the recommendation engine, and we are fast going towards personalization. So digital is all about the segment of one, right? I am very different from Urvi, and Urvi is very different from all of the panelists here, all of the webinar attendees here. So really, content programming or a digital platform has to serve each one of us as individuals. So the way to increase stickiness would be personalizing for your needs. If you are watching more content, I mean, if you're a thrill seeker or if you love new age women stories, if I can program them for you very well, if I can serve them for you very well, if I can recommend them for you very well at all the touch points that you're present on, there is, it is bound to increase stickiness. And we have seen some really fantastic results with the recommendation engine that we implemented on the Z5 app.
Apart from the programming that you already mentioned, the tech part also sort of has to work in conjunction with the programming so that overall the impact is a sticky platform.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, this is the digital platform. Z5 is a contact brand, right? We have to content and technology have to go hand in hand. So in that sense, technology and features and the overall product experience, content, convenience, experience, really, those are the pillars that make a great OTT brand.
Okay. Kailash Goel has a question on how do you gain new customers? Because all OTT platforms will go out with marketing through various streaming channels for their streaming channels. So I'm guessing what they want to ask is how do you sort of break through the clutter and specifically from a customer acquisition point of view?
So your own proposition and your own content differentiation firstly helps you break through the clutter. And because we keep launching, we have we have consistent launches across different languages. It helps us stay very relevant to the consumer. You go looking for your consumers where they are, right? You go looking for them where whether on social platforms, or whether on other OTTs, or whether creating prototypes of them and seeing where they possibly are. So really those kind of strategies, very smart, very astute digital marketing strategies are at play at this point in time.
There's another question which is on monetization of the new traffic that is coming in, and are there trends to show basically all the people coming in wish to pay, or do you look at advertising to be a source of revenue for the new traffic as well?
Sure. So we are a freemium product, right? And we have always relied on both businesses for our growth, whether it is the AVOD, the advertising business, or the subscription business. And the initiation of a customer, so depending upon really what kind of content affinity has, the initiation of a customer happens from that end. So if he is a customer looking, say, for a latest episode, or for TV content, or possibly just some nostalgic TV shows, he first tends to become your AVOD customer. Once he starts engaging with you, and once he starts seeing the recommendations that he is being made, right? An average AVOD customer would be made possibly, for every 3 content recommendations he is shown at least one subscription driving property, at least one property which is behind paywall. And that hit rate is really very good, because when the customer sees that there is content, there is convenience, right, and he's happy with the experience that the product is giving you, a very seamless journey from being an AVOD customer to a SVOD customer happens. At ZEE5, we've always believed that for all of these 3, the customer is ready to pay. We do not think that the Indian consumer is only a free viewing consumer. The Indian consumer will pay for good content.
This one is from Priya Saxena, and she asks, what is your take on releasing films online? And considering, the makers stand to make a loss the longer the film is delayed.
Yes.
So direct to OTT sort of releases for what would have been traditionally theatrical releases. What is your take on that?
So we were very early in the game in that sense when it came to direct to digital releases, and our first direct to digital release was way back in 2018, which was the film Tigers with Imran Hashmi. So from then to now, and I mentioned also of Bumfad with Aditya Raval, which we released in April, and now Dhoomketu coming. We're also in very advanced discussions with studios for direct-to-digital premieres of movies which were slotted in theaters in the next couple of months. So yes, that is a trend that has picked up. Situation times are very different, right? I mean, how much a studio would want to wait back to release that film, and even when the time is right, how much will consumers respond by flocking theaters, all remains to be seen. So digital and OTT is a great medium to reach out to your consumers and possibly make monies and reduce your losses.
So in continuation, Parikshit Sharma has a question. Where do you see customer engagement index going after the lockdown is lifted and movie halls are back in competition with OTT?
Some habits die hard, and in the last 2 months, OTT has become a habit for all of us, right? Like going through social during a lunch break, or just switching off during a meeting and going to your Facebook or your Twitter or your Insta had become a habit, or the newspaper is a habit. OTT has actually become a habit in the last 2 months for most consumers, and consumption and engagement is only going to increase, because now it's like you've tasted blood. Now you've got an opportunity to entertain yourself beyond what you already knew was your entertainment opportunity. So yes, customer engagement index will go high. OTTs stand to gain. All of us as consumers stand to gain in this period. And continuing.
Yeah, so I think we have time for just one more question, and then if you have any concluding remarks, we can conclude with that. This one is, how does the paid versus free user cohorts compare in terms of content watched, and what kind of packs are people purchasing?
Yeah. A paid user is a much more valuable user in that sense. Higher LTV, he engage because you're able to engage with a user who has made a subscription, right? Because you are able to communicate with the customer, you're able to reach out, you're able to let the consumer know of your new initiatives. A free consumer comes to your platform for a limited duration and then goes back, and you have to every time solicit a consumer like that. A paid user tends to be a more loyal consumer. So yes, paid users definitely are in that sense more valuable when it comes to the comparison between the two. We see a huge chunk of AVOD audiences shifting to SVOD, because there is, we in fact at ZEE5 we have very strong propositions like Before TV, like digital premieres, like new web series coming, new kids content, and then some of the later launches may even be behind the paywall. There's a lot of gamification of content and things. So there are enough opportunities for people to come and engage. In fact, the as next steps to the complete Hypershot proposition would be a part payment sort of thing. So while Hypershots will launch as a completely free model initially, it will evolve into eventually, for some of the features, a small payment. So yes, I mean we do see that growth happening and that coming.
Okay. Brilliant, Aparna. Thank you so much. Yeah. It's been a very interesting 1 hour. Do you have any concluding remarks?
No, I want to thank you, Urvi. I want to thank you. I want to thank ET Brand Equity for giving me this opportunity. I hope the last 1 hour has been productive and informative to all of you. And I'm happy to take, any feedback and any questions. And people can always reach out to ZEE5 and just keep enjoying the great content that we have.
You're most welcome, Aparna. It's been a very interesting 1 hour. So I'm guessing that's a good note to sign off on.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks everyone for attending.